Straight run up.
Now he angles it somewhat. Barkadash.
Where do I start? It's been up and down.
I remember being a kid.
I can see that happening.
That's something, there's always something to do. The Unlaced.
Unlaced podcast. It's actually not bad.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Unlaced podcast. As everyone tuned into the last one with Dane Swan, it was an absolute awesome episode. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the food review and saw Swanee's mouth just filled with mayonnaise as much as his jokes were on point. But look, we're going to keep bringing some of those. For everyone that did like and comment and subscribed and tuned into that, I reckon we have a few more in the locker, so please do keep tuning in. Following on from that episode, I thought we'd keep the Collingwood theme running. And today I reckon we've got one of the superstars, one of the pivotal men of the Pies lineup, Jeremy Howe. How you going, mate?
I'm really well. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You've actually been following the podcast for a little bit, I must say. So I think I owe you a thank you.
I have. It's it's good. They're great listens, and obviously, known a few people that have come on. So yeah, they're a good listen, like I said.
Beautiful. Now I'm not going to let these two out of the room here unknown. Ethan and Will, you're a bit late today. It's
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah, so as I said to Jeremy, the two film boys, my beloved boys, rocked up a little bit late, and we've done about 30 podcasts here, and then they had the nerve to tell me that Maps was telling them the wrong way. So,
well, I underestimated the travel here as well, and I got here 7 minutes early. Still,
oh,
so
there
I was
you go. I love that. Oh God, mate, we're giving everyone stick today, but. No, one of the reasons actually, and how you I know we've only just met today, but you actually are one of my favourite players. And a big part of that is because you can do a lot of what I can't, which is be a bit of a walking highlight reel and just legitimately stand on blokes' heads all the time.
Yeah.
Like that actually fascinates me. And I don't know if it's like a natural ability or a skill or you've trained it, but like I'm keen to understand. Like,
yeah, it's an interesting one because everyone's kind of like the obvious question is like, how long have you been doing it? When did you learn to start doing it? And I did high jump in year 10. That was all I had to do. And to find out that I could actually jump a little bit higher than most.
Yeah.
And I just started doing that. And at my high school, I went to the interstate carnival, but there was no high jump in the actual school. So they just gave you a free pass to go in and challenge other people from other schools.
right.
So I did high jump, ended up winning that. And then, I don't know, I just started jumping into packs as a kid when I was about 15, 16. And then it was just the confidence thing. Like once I plucked a few, then I just started having a crack at a few more. And then, I feel like I don't go for too many unrealistic ones. Like I'm not your Russell Robertson type where he just kicks blokes flat out and doesn't touch the ball. But I definitely think, I try to keep them half realistic. But if the opportunity arises, I definitely have a crack.
Yeah, the ratio to like you trying them to actually marking them is actually quite, like the execution percentage is quite high.
Yeah.
To the point where like I'm walking around, I'm looking over my shoulder in case you try one on me in here. But my actual favourite one, and it's a bit of a different one because you've done a lot and we're going to go into just some of it, but the one you did on Andrew Embley.
Yeah.
That was my favourite because you're running back with a flight and then 9 times out of 10, the guy with sort of behind the footy when he puts his back into you is probably going to get that, but you just jumped on his head and he couldn't do anything.
And he was filthy. Like I've actually met Andrew Embley a couple of times, and I brought it up one time, and I said to him, "That's the only hanger I've ever taken where I've jumped off my right leg."
Yeah.
So if you look at every other mark I've taken, I'd all jump off my left. And he goes, "Is that meant to make me feel any better?"
Yeah, he didn't rate that.
Well, it's a one-off, so that was the only catch I ever did off my right, and it's probably one of those ones that you jumped and he just held me up for a little bit. And it's probably a little bit unrealistic, but he held me up for long enough to be able to glove it.
Well, that's crazy, man. And for those that like don't know what I'm talking about, do yourself a favour, get on YouTube and just type in Jeremy Howe and just literally watch the first 3 videos. It's like I didn't realise how much you did it. Like I knew it was like a well-known thing, and then I watched it. I'm like, this is like 12 minutes long. Like they only go for 30 seconds.
You only watched the 2012.
That's very good. No. Very good. And no, to build on that though, I think you're the most nominated player for Mark of the Year ever.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yeah, Jack Rewalt's second.
Yeah, which is which comes back to the point, like you probably been robbed of a few trophies then if you'd nominated so much. So,
I agree.
Joe Danaher, maybe we'll touch on that one.
He did offer it. He tried to give it to me at the Brownlow, but I was like,
"Jeez, you were stiffed." So I think my theory, and it's probably logical, wasn't there another Collingwood player or
so
someone
Brodie
else?
Grundy. So it was me, Brodie Grundy, and Danaher. were the final 3, and it's obviously a voted system for the fans, which it isn't anymore. And well, Brodie took about 3% of the votes, and ultimately that's probably what ended up costing me. So,
see, people might think this is petty to talk about, but having been an athlete, what I saw was that I was like, fuck, that's probably a couple of endorsement deals gone. Like, well, that's a sponsorship of something where he's like got Mark of the Year or a free car. Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, the post Brownlow, they obviously have the after party, and I was more than happy. I was on my way.
Yeah.
Because after it, I was like, well, why am I at the Brownlow? I didn't get a vote. I was like, why am I actually here? So we went to the after party, and I said to Gil, I was like, I understand. I was like, yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't win. But I was like, it actually cost me like 40 grand.
And it was
clearly a better
mark.
I cared about the money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the killer.
But not being a overly highly paid player is like that money's crucial.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And when you're taking them so much, you deserve some reward. But how's the off season been anyway? It's obviously been we're well into the off season now. I guess you mentioned you're going back on the track next week.
Yeah,
so
it's been a little bit different. Probably current climate with COVID.
Yeah,
we weren't really able to travel anywhere. Like me and my wife are both interstate families, so mine Tassie and hers in WA, and they're pretty much the 2 hardest fortresses to get in Australia at the moment. So we haven't been able to see anyone from the family, but we snuck off to New South Wales a week ago and just spent like 5 nights up there in Kingsclear.
Yeah.
Just to chill out. Took the little man away for his first little trip, which was an experience. Travelling with a baby's a little bit different to just travelling with the missus. So, and to be honest, apart from that, we've just been training. So, because we're in lockdown, we still had the ability to train. So a lot of us just continue to train the whole off season. So,
mate, I've seen so much footage, and I'm not even trying to see it. I just keep seeing footage of you running with young blokes.
Yeah, so you try to do your best to try and get around and train with as many people as possible. And we've got a few young guys and then obviously new recruits as well coming in. So it's nice to get friendly with those guys before they come back.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the young boys are back training now. So I'll filter in there tomorrow and see how we go.
Mate, I was impressed by it because I was thinking, I was like, fuck, at this point in your career, like you're 31, you're almost a 200 game, which we're going to go into. But it's your 10th or 11th preseason this will be.
Was it 11th or 12th?
Or is it? Yeah, what were you?
2010 I got drafted. So
it's
I got drafted
it's the 12th
late.
season, so it's probably 12th preseason.
I was a 20-year-old.
Yeah, which is
picked
crazy.
up a little bit later, but it's gone pretty quick.
Yeah,
I
crazy.
still remember when I was at Melbourne, Brad Green retired at the end of my first year.
Oh, really?
And he goes, just make the most of it. It's gone before you know it. And I was like, you fucking serious? It's like, you've been here for 15 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And then I'm sitting here at like 11. I was like, that's gone pretty quick.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it does go quick.
Does your head sort of like coming, because I've got a feeling like the AFL preseason's one of the hardest preseasons like known to sport in general, but does it play in your mentality a bit having to like show up for it, or do you kind of still enjoy the challenge of it all?
It is good. Like I think it's probably early days in my career, you'd rock up to preseason, you use preseason to get fit, so you enjoy your break, probably go a little bit over the top, and then come back and you're underdone, and then it's really hard to get fit.
Yeah.
Whereas as you kind of get a little bit more experience, you go, well, you can still enjoy your time, still get to work in the off season, come back, and then the gap to bridge your fitness is minimal. So I've learned that over the last probably 5-6 years, and you come back in better and better condition. And the boys that are coming back, it's probably the draftees. They're like ready made, and they're the ones that you're chasing around anyway.
Really?
So
and you got some bloody good ones this year, don't you?
Yeah, so must be something in the water in South Australia, because that's where we managed to go poach them all from, apart from Dacos. So.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Nick Dacos run around, that's for sure. The hype coming out of him has been pretty crazy. For you, though, and I touched on it, like one of the things I noticed, and your career from when you came in, and even though you came in as a 20-year-old to probably up until 2020 when you got obviously injured, you played like a good chunk of games every year. So it's like you've maximised your career. But when you went out, I was like, fuck, you realised how important you were to the Collingwood backline. I think Darcy Moore might have been out for a little bit as well.
Yeah.
So it was like you had a full backline to, no offence, but like barely anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm just keen, given like your role and remit and how far you are down your career, like, do you go into preseason thinking of things that you can still get better at? Are you just trying to keep your body healthy now? Like
100%. Or there's a balancing act between trying to keep your body healthy. I was like, you touched on it before. I've never really been exposed to long-term injury. So I was roughly averaging about 20 games a year for 10 years. And then the last 2 years I've played like 7. So I've missed like 35 games. And you got to feel for the guys that have like done multiple knees and missed long terms of footy because I got a little taste of it, and I'm grateful that I haven't really been exposed to that kind of stuff very often. But you have to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're probably the time that you feel like you're not going to get it any better and your time's running out, then you get moved on. So, like we got Pendles. Still gets better.
Yeah.
I was like, you only look at him at the moment. He looks like the Adonis. Like
Yeah.
he's built like,
I know, it's crazy,
so
mate.
good. And he's year 7.
It's
so it's like,
frustrating.
if he can do it, and I was like, well, everyone else can do it. But
He's getting hotter. He's getting hotter with age.
He's wired a little bit different. But yeah, look, I was like, I still just want to, like, my body's feeling as healthy as it has for a long time. So I'm just looking forward to having a full preseason, and because it does have an impact on the way that you start the year. I think like coming in underdone definitely has an impact on the performance, and I feel like this year I can get back to what I was doing before. Right,
fair enough. Well, so people that maybe know you might know this, but definitely some of the listeners, for those that don't know, Jeremy Howe's related to Matthew Wade. Cousins?
Yeah, so our mums are sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you always a footy? I know you grew up in Tassie, which we're going to touch on, but were you always a footy nut? Did you play cricket? Did you play
Loved
other
it.
sports?
So it was footy, tennis, and basketball. So
really?
I actually quit footy when I was 15 to pursue tennis purely on its own because
You're joking.
I was training preschool and post, playing like overnight and that, and it just became too much to try and do footy as well.
Yeah.
So I pursued it for 12 months, got a scholarship, got like a sponsorship deal, and then I turned it down. I was like, I miss the boys. Like, I'm sick of training on my own.
Individual sport.
I was probably a bit of I wasn't just mentally strong enough to continually just rock up on my own and train.
Yeah.
And just be coached by the one guy, and it's just one-on-one sessions flat out. So I was like, I think I need to go back to footy, and went back, and I'm stoked I did. Clearly, team sport is a hell of a lot different, and I love the environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was never really a massive cricketer.
Was Wadey always?
Matty was always cricket and footy.
Yeah.
And he was a gun at both.
Yeah.
And just ask him, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
And,
he's like that kind of bloke.
But he was actually, so he won like all these awards in underage, all the association best and fairest. He was real dirty, so he'd snipe blokes flat out. being the smallest bloke on the field, he used to throw his weight around. Wasn't much of it, but he used to have a fair crack. And his old man was the same, actually. So footy's always been in the family. But ultimately it came to a decision for him. They're like, you're either going to try and get drafted or you're going to pursue cricket.
Yeah.
So he ended up choosing cricket, and I think he's made the right choice in the end. So he's doing pretty well.
How was the? Have you spoke to him since the T20 World Cup?
Yeah. So getting plenty of photos and videos of the celebrations, which was pretty nice. Looked like a hell of a time, and managed to catch up with him on Friday, which was good. Him and a few cricket boys, and celebrated with a few beers, and pulled up a bit rough the next day, but it was well worth it. And it was just good to see him because I haven't seen him for a long period of time.
Yeah.
He's kind of the first family member that I've seen for ages. So it was good on all fronts.
Are you guys close in age? You'd be pretty similar.
So he's 3 years older than me. So he's the same age as my brother.
Oh, right.
So they were, I built up a bit of resilience as competitors
I
growing
bet,
up
mate,
because they used to just
backyard
belt the shit
sports
out of me
for
flat out. So I owe a lot to those two boys for playing footy, that's for sure.
Did you, growing up in Tasmania, I mean, what was Tassie like growing up? Because I feel like a lot of people give it a lot of shit outside of Tassie, but I've been there. Mate, beautiful.
Well, it's getting a hell of a lot more traction now.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of like, well, Tassie's down there for a reason. You can all stay down there. Like, fuck yous, you're all different. And I was like, well, have you ever been there?
Yeah.
And then people come down, they love it. But yeah, growing up was great. It was, like I said, it was sport dominant down there. So everyone just loved sport. And then obviously went to school, had a great family, great group of mates. And then you kind of just, the natural area you went to after school was just go straight into an apprenticeship.
Oh, really?
So I finished school in year 10, went straight into an apprenticeship for 4 years. Then I got drafted. So I did 4 years on the tools as an electrician.
Did you finish the apprenticeship?
So this is where it gets funny.
Oh, no.
So as a sparky, you do 3 years, your first 3 years, you do 1 day a week at TAFE, like schooling.
Yeah.
But then in your last year, you don't go to TAFE. You just work for 5 days a week, like normal. And then you come back and sit like a 2-week tutorial, and then it's called your capstone test, which is your final exams. But it runs for 2 weeks. I got drafted November 17. I was meant to do it like first week of December. I couldn't do it. So I came to Melbourne, tried to figure it out, and it's going to be way too hard.
Oh, no.
I had to go sit extra modules. It was different standards, so I had to like get other things ticked off. So I was like, fuck, it's too hard. And it probably wasn't. And it's one of the biggest regrets of not being able to finish it because
So close, yeah.
It's like I loved it. I enjoyed doing it.
Would you do it after footy? Like, would you revisit it now, or was it too?
It would have been
far
nice
gone?
to be able to just get it ticked off and set up your own business and
In
get some
case.
guys in that to work for you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Like I loved it when I was in it, and then once you get exposed to footy, you're kind of like, well, it doesn't really compare.
Yeah,
So it's like,
mate.
I can either climb through roofs or
or climb on heads.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go. That's a
yeah.
punchline.
So it was enjoyable, but yeah, obviously thrilled that I ended up getting picked up.
Yeah. Well, did you because you went at 20? So how did
Yeah.
that? Were you at 18? Were you overlooked? Obviously, were you close to getting picked up?
Yeah, so I've just played local footy pretty much my whole career.
Yeah.
And then like at 18, I got into the Tassie Mariners, so the under 18s for Tassie, broke my leg.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, got cut.
man.
So they cut me, but then I came back and I was able to play VFL for Tassie, but they wouldn't let me play under 18s because they already cut me. So they're like, well, how can you be playing for the VFL team and not the kids team, like the 18s team?
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a balls up in the end. But yeah, then sure enough, tried to play as an overage the following year. Was terrible.
Really?
And just didn't get drafted.
Oh, no.
And then I ended up making the change. So I left my local team, went and played, it's called in the TSL, so the best state league, best senior footy in Tassie.
Yep.
10 teams, 6 in the south, 4 up north. And we were shit. Our team was terrible. We only won like 4 games for the year, but managed to just string together a good season and got drafted. So
It's crazy.
they came down. Barry Prendergast was the recruiter. They came down and looked at a guy called Joe Bowden.
Yeah.
And he's a freak. He's just won all the accolades you can think of, and he just never got picked up. And we played his team, and we flogged him.
And you got.
And then post that, they're like, we're looking at the wrong bloke.
So he's
And I still think he's way better than me.
Love the truth.
Yeah,
As
and,
he's entering 200 games in the
yeah,
AFL. This.
So, and yeah, it's just unfortunately didn't get picked up. Well, he's an
Wow.
absolute star.
So
and
is he still
is.
playing in Tassie?
Still
I
plays
feel
down
like
there.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, and
mate.
just flogs everyone.
Oh, wow. There
Yeah.
you go. So there's a bit of a. Well, I hope this is a true story, but apparently the night you got drafted, you were sitting in a Tassie casino watching yourself
Yeah.
get drafted, which is remarkable. Did you know you were going to get drafted that night
So
to Melbourne?
it wasn't an absolute shoe-in, but I
Yeah.
was like, I was hopeful.
Because I'm like, if you weren't in Melbourne or if you weren't at a certain
Nah.
event, maybe
I had
there's some
spoken
doubt
to
there.
the D's a couple of times, but they said we can't give you an absolute certain answer, but we'd like to get you. I was like, oh, sweet. So they undersell the story to make you nervous and luckily enough, I managed to get picked up. But yeah, we didn't have Foxtel, so it wasn't on the TV. So we drove up to the casino in a bus. It was like 12 of us, like parents, mates, my parents' mates. Watched it, got blind, and then I was just watching it on the TV, and then I turned away and I was on my stool. And next minute, because I picked 33,
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
from a chance, maybe like 70.
Yeah. Oh,
80.
really? So that was way higher than what you
Yeah,
anticipated.
and then pick 33 come up, and I didn't even see it. And then the next minute, I'm on my back. Two of my mates speared me off my chair, and they're like, "You're going to Melbourne. You're going to Melbourne." I was like, "No way!"
Holy shit!
And then at 2 a.m., I'm wrestling Dad out the front of the casino, waiting for a cab to get home.
And then 2
And
days
you
later,
pack- you
probably in
pack up-
Melbourne.
yeah, you pack up your stuff and you move to Melbourne on the Sunday.
Oh, mate,
So-
the glorious life of an AFL football.
All happens pretty quick. I actually went to work the next day on Friday, so it was Thursday.
Boss wouldn't have known.
Got back to 2:30. He was well aware that I got drafted.
Right.
So-
yeah, hammered.
And I remember the story quite clearly. He's like, I'm so happy for you. He goes, but I've just got to let you know. He's like, I'm going to work you really hard for 2 weeks. Thought the 2 weeks notice stacks up. I was like, I'll give you 8 hours, mate, and then I'm out of here.
Oh,
I
no.
got to go.
You got to go, yeah.
So he's just like, oh, don't worry about it. Won't work. Just had a barbecue, a few beers, and then moved on.
Mate, that's amazing. It kind of makes me think, I'm like, how many players miss out that could do
So
really great?
many.
Because, like, realistically, like, you're almost playing 200 games.
Yeah.
And you came in 2 years late and you've missed essentially a season and a half through
Yeah.
injury.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
Well,
what?
I tell my mates all the time, I've got plenty of mates down home that were better than me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's a fair bit of luck that unfolds and has to go your way sometimes.
Yeah.
The stars will always get picked up, like the ones that dominate flat out. But
Yeah.
there's so many like hidden gems out there that would get overlooked and unseen. That's unfortunate, but you can't have eyes on everyone.
Nah.
It's unrealistic to be able to get everyone
that's
there.
true. That's true. But do you think it's helped your career in any way? Like having that sort of, like you've almost had to work extra hard to get it? Like you weren't
Well,
gifted anything?
yeah,
and-
I think working as an electrician and doing my apprenticeship, I had a greater appreciation for what I've just been given.
Yeah.
I think when you just play footy and then you go to school, and I was like, by all means get a good education, all that kind of stuff. But then you're rolling from school straight into AFL.
Yeah.
I was like, have you really experienced what life's like if you didn't play footy?
Well, that's very
so
true.
So I worked as an electrician for 4 years, did shit jobs for 4 years, but still loved it.
Yeah.
And it probably matured me a little bit, straightened me out a little bit as well. And like I said, I love doing it. But I think once I got it, I was like, fuck, you're going to have to take it off me if you want it. If someone else wants to take it off me, then good luck.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I said in my interview with Dean Bailey. He's like, why should we pick you instead of an 18-year-old? I said, because if I line up next to him, I'll fucking beat him. He goes, that's a good answer. And then they shipped me home that afternoon. And then I was like, geez, I wonder if I've stuffed this up.
But it's such a good point, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's like, mate, I came out of it young and I talk about it on the podcast all the time. Like, how the fuck do you replicate playing in front of 80,000 people at the MCG on Anzac Day to anything ever again in life?
It's
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to, as you said, climbing in roofs or like, you know, potentially owning a business or doing, you know, a lot of labour or doing different things. Like, it's never going to be the same.
Not at all. The adrenaline is something that you can't replicate, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Swanee, like, he cheekily said it, but he's like, you literally can't buy that experience. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking good point.
Yeah.
Like, you can't buy it. You can't pay for it.
100%.
So it's pretty unique. But what I was interested as well, particularly early, was you were quite a prominent forward, and it might have been because of your age or your maturity at the time. But like, I think your first game, like, you just came in, had like 20 touches, kicked a few goals and stuff. Your first few years playing as a forward, were you always a forward coming into the AFL, or?
Yeah, so I predominantly in Tassie. I was probably played through the midfield on the wing.
Right. Okay.
Played a kick behind the ball.
Yeah.
And but then I played more as a forward in like some senior footy down there. But then obviously, I reckon out of the 100 games at Melbourne, I played probably almost 50-50 split in the end, forward and back. Probably when they started working out, all they had to do was body me. I was having no impact on the game.
Right.
And it's a cop-out excuse, what I'll say. It's like, but we were that shit. And it was almost impossible to play well as a forward.
Yeah,
and I was like, I wasn't no big dog like
No.
Mitch Clark.
Yeah,
he could still have heavy influence. But I just faded away and I kind of dropped my bundle a little bit, wasn't enjoying it. They're like, let's try him back. And I loved it, like a bit of a new lease on life.
Well, the
Went
ball would have
back
been
for a
going
bit.
down there quite a bit back then.
And
too.
then in my last year, they moved me back forward again. And I was just like, fuck this. It's like, I don't even enjoy it. So, and I wasn't performing again. So it was a good time for me to get out, mix it up. But I never thought I was going to go back to Collingwood go to Collingwood and be a defender. I was planning on going play on the wing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, I just remember, like, we sat out, planned it with Bucks, what it was going to look like. I was all excited. It was like a bit of a wing, potentially like pinch hit in the forward line for a little bit. But, and then got to Collingwood, all the backs went down with injury. They all just started dropping like flies.
Trust.
Bucks come straight to me in the halfway through main training. He goes, I promise you I'd never do it here, but I'm going to send you back. He goes, what do you think about that? I was like, I'll do it. I was like, I'm more than happy to do it. And I've never seen the forward 50 since.
Do you actually love it now,
Yeah,
though?
I do.
'Cause the way I watch you play, I'm like, you've got to enjoy what you do.
I feel like I've kind of, like I've just warmed to the role. And I feel like the way that we were trying to play and even with the guys that I was working with allowed me to kind of play to my strengths still.
Yeah.
So, that interceptor defender role's kind of one that I've really enjoyed playing, still do, and with any luck, still a few more years left. Yeah,
definitely. So was that when you swung down back at Melbourne? Because I think 2013, you were Melbourne's leading goal kicker. So it wasn't like you were just a shoo-in up there. Like, you obviously were performing. But was that your decision, or was that like a coaching decision once the?
So I actually had a really good relationship with Jade Rawlings, who was the defensive coach at Melbourne, and still get along with him like a house on fire. And he was the one who kind of wanted me to go down there and just have a try and see what it was like. And I wasn't really sure, and then I was kind of starting to put a few games together, and I was like, I actually enjoy playing down here. I love and it's hard to explain again, like as a forward, like the defenders are just the most closest bunch of boys that you can get on field and heavily reliant on one another, and it's always been like that. I think any AFL club you'll speak to, the defenders are probably the most reliant on one another to be able to get the job done
like
and
a
help
team
each other
unity
out.
vibe,
And don't get me wrong, the mids and forwards get along great. But like,
there's a selfish component to what they do.
If someone else, if we get a goal kicked on us, like we're all kind of like, we'll all cop that.
Yeah.
But and I was just like, we just tried it out for a bit and pretty much played about a year and a half straight as a defender for
Right.
Melbourne, and probably played one of my most consistent years there.
Yeah.
So, and then 2015 they moved me back forward again, and
Okay. The
went
rest
to
is
shit,
history,
so.
yeah. But it was like I've always been curious because I feel like you've obviously now experienced success at Collingwood, but how hard were some of those days at Melbourne? Like, just like I don't know how many games you guys won, but it wasn't too many.
well, I won 20 from
20.
100
Fuck.
at there. So that's
It's actually better than what I thought it was. To be honest.
Yeah.
I thought it was worse.
well.
It wasn't-
I
wasn't
went
many.
through a 3-year period where I played every game, and I went 2 wins, 4 wins, 2 wins.
Fuck,
So
man.
I was, what's that, 8-60 or whatever, or 8-58
Yeah,
in
that's
3 years.
crazy. That's more what I was thinking.
And that was a shit time. Like, I used to speak to my family 3 times a week, and it just got to a point where I was like, I didn't ring him for 3 weeks. I was like, I've got nothing good for you. But the environment itself, like the boys in that remained upbeat, and like we were trying.
Yeah, that's the
It was-
worst
we were
part.
just
It
no
was- you
good.
guys- yeah.
And like it was just like we copped some heavy losses. Like I had 5 coaches in 5 years. So to try and get some continuity within the group, the list, like a huge turnover of players, turnover of coaches, like they've well and truly got their shit together now because
Yeah.
they've just won the flag.
Yeah, well,
Like,
yeah. It's
and
they
they got
couldn't
stars everywhere, but it took a long time. And Nath Jones is probably heavily one that you got to thank for that,
Yeah,
to be able to be there the whole time. And yeah, for him to miss out was really unfortunate because he did so much of the groundwork to be able to get them where they are.
I know.
And obviously, yeah, they reaped the rewards this year for that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was like they pretty much did everything wrong they could do, and finally they've started getting it right,
Yeah.
which is great to see because
Yeah.
no one wants to see him be that bad. But for you, like you were a part of a 4-player trade in 2015, which is
Yeah.
a crazy trade, by the way. Like when I look back on it now, I'm like, Pies have won that huge. But did you initiate, like, were you always wanting to get out of Melbourne? Did you feel it was time for a change based off
Yeah,
everything
so
that was going on?
we pretty much had a conversation at the end of that season where we saw me fit in within the group on field, what kind of role it was going to be. In the end, there was an offer on the table from Melbourne, and then I was like, well, I'm going to do my due diligence. I want to go speak to someone else. So, and I love, like, a Collingwood fan growing up. I was like, we share the same car park.
Yeah, like,
I wouldn't have to move.
I
So
didn't
was
even
like,
realise that.
yeah,
You're in the same
yeah.
complex.
So that was interesting. Day one, when I drove past to see all the boys. Like,
Piss off.
But yeah, so I obviously spoke to a couple of clubs, and Collingwood were the best fit for me, and the way that it kind of unfolded and the conversations I was having made me feel really confident. And yeah, obviously got shit canned on the way out when you leave another club.
Yeah.
But I ended up going to Collingwood for less money and a lesser deal, and everyone thinks I was trying to take Melbourne to the cleaners. I was like, well, I wasn't. I just
Yeah.
wanted to be happy playing footy again.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
everyone wants to be valued and appreciated for what you provide. And it was my own fault. I was underperforming, so I felt like I needed to do something different.
Yeah.
Collingwood provided me an opportunity to make me feel like I was going to contribute. And to be honest, it's the best decision ever made.
There's a rumour I heard, and it was apparently you were in Bali on an end of season trip, and I think it would have been around the halfway point of this move, but
Yeah.
you caught up with Nathan Buckley in Bali at a
Yeah.
bar and shared a bintang.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're in chats. That was probably like the second catch up. First time I'd seen him. But yeah, we were chatting, and he's like, oh, I'm going to come meet you. I was like, all right.
Did you know he was in Bali when you got there?
Well, Pendle's wedding was on.
Oh,
So they were all over there.
Collingwood
I was seeing
Football Club was
Collingwood
there.
blokes everywhere. And I was just like-
and
and
did you
meanwhile,
know you were going at this point?
Not at this stage, no.
Right.
But like the conversations were well and truly happening, and then yeah, Bucks was like, "I'll come and meet you at this cafe." I was like, "I think it's what was it? I can't even remember the joint." But he's like, "Yeah, just make sure you got a beer there waiting for me when I get there."
He said that
So
to
I
you.
bought him the beer. He was 15 minutes late. And I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" So the bintag was like half warm, but shared a beer, but we ended up getting caught because there was like an AFL umpire in there,
Oh, there was a rat. in
and
the
literally
room.
by the time I got back to the villa, it was out.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
like,
oh
oh
wow.
well. So in the end, I spent probably 45 minutes with him, chewing the fat for a bit, and yeah, all unfolded the way that we both wanted.
Mate, did you realise you were like one? I know you're a Collingwood fan, but one, how big that club was, and then also secondly, like the team you walked into was
Yeah.
pretty much moving into a premiership window
Yeah.
because like a few years later you're playing your grand finals. And
It was
finals.
yeah, it was pretty full on at the start, like insane. Like I went there when I was 26, like I wasn't 18. It could be pretty overwhelming for a kid for sure,
Yeah.
but even for me, like I found that a quiet week at Collingwood was like your maxed out media week at Melbourne.
Really?
Like, there was always just door stoppers in the car park. More often than not, there was something going on.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But yeah, just crazy. It's like it was Melbourne on steroids. But like Melbourne are probably like they're going to continue on this trend and they'll be like that. But it's just out of control. Everything's like big, full on. Fans are great on both sides, but I just found it was just so much bigger. But like I'm not saying like Collingwood don't have anything that Melbourne didn't have.
Yeah.
They just had shitloads more of it. Like
It's just heaps more people following
heaps more
you.
fans, like supporters. The club was just pretty full on, and the pressure was through the roof.
Yeah.
But like I'm not trying to shit can Melbourne, but it's just there was a
Mate,
different
you can't
experience.
compare it. I think
It's
it's
a different experience.
I think it's the biggest sporting team in the country. Like
Yeah.
them, like Melbourne Storm, Brisbane Broncos, arguably, but like Collingwood's that big. Like it's huge.
So, and it's great. It's got its perks, but it's seriously got the pressure.
Yeah,
It's got the negative pressure
you
side.
don't
of
want
it.
to shank it. You don't want to shank a kick in the last quarter. That's
Yeah.
for sure. But no. What's interesting as well is you've gone through quite a bit of transition. Like you've obviously had quite a young group almost steal a flag. You've got a bit of a young group again, even though you've got some of you experienced leaders that have maintained through. You've gone through Bucks, Banger Harvey, and now you've got Craig McRae. Like what's that sort of been like for you, especially as a bit more of a senior player now?
Yeah, I think probably even the list turnover. Like probably my first few years, we didn't draft a heap of kids, but then last year I think we drafted like 9 or 10 kids.
Lot and
This
played
year-
a lot as well.
Yeah, this year we've got another 4.
Yeah.
So that's 14 kids that are under the age of like 19.
Shit.
Then you've got the second year boys, or the third year boys are like 20. So there's like another 6 of them. So it's like over 50% of the list are like 22 or younger.
Wow.
It's like 21 young. And then you got blokes like me and Pendles inside here, just the old ones of the group now. Well, Pendles is a fair bit older, but I'm the second oldest at the club.
Are you really?
So I was like,
are you older than
shit.
Sidey, are you?
Yeah, so I'm a year older than him.
Wow.
And that hit me for 6 when I found that out.
Yeah,
I don't know if the club I don't know if they know yet. Surely they'd have to, but
Yeah, you'd
I hope
think
not,
so.
because I'll be the next one out.
Because
So.
what do you? Well, the longer Pendles plays is good for you. I reckon.
Well,
It's
that's
a
true.
Good
but
sales.
He's a fair bit better than anyone else. So.
Well, still, I think though the way you play and the way you move, like you don't really have look. Like
We'll see how. I've got 2 more. We'll see how they unfold, and then we'll get there. But we've managed to meet all the new coaches, which is great.
Yeah.
So with 4 new coaches, new head of high performance as well. So things are going to be a lot different. Even from what the boys are doing, like they've got a taste of what training's going to be like, and it's a fair bit different.
Yeah.
And they enjoy it, they're loving it, and I'm eager. It'll be my first day back tomorrow.
That's crazy.
Go back in with the boys and
We
see
have
how we go.
testing. We have testing tomorrow.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But there'll definitely be. So when we're officially the 5-year plus boys are back on December 6th,
Yeah.
there'll be a curly one for sure.
Oh,
like no
God,
doubt.
yeah, it's
And
yuck.
everyone's kind of like, what's it going to be? New head of high performance. Generally, like they kind of hold their hat up on what they provide for the test.
Yeah, right.
And it's not going to be. It won't be a 2K. It'll be something funky and new, and it'll hurt.
Yeah.
But we'll see how we go.
Oh, good, mate. Yeah, well, you've been running, so to be fair to you, and we did speak off air, that you've been part of the leadership group for a little bit of time. Like, what sort of some of the responsibilities that actually go into that, and like, is that something you enjoy? Is it like an actual extra bit of work that's required, or?
I think I used to look at leadership a hell of a lot different. I used to look at leaders and be like, "Fuck, what are they doing? Like, they've obviously got to be great players. They've got to be doing extra, all that kind of stuff." And I was like, well, probably as you get more experience, you just kind of broaden your vision to people around you instead of just wholly focusing on your own personal game, and start working with the kids, start trying to transition them in, to try and get them upbeat and get them into the game quicker. So getting them like plenty of extra knowledge, watch vision with them, like just kind of broaden your vision to be able to help other blokes out around you.
Yeah.
And I don't go and go, right, I need to get better at this to be a leader. It's actually just being a good person,
A good bloke, yeah.
looking after for blokes around you, offer an ear if you have to, give advice when you can, but more importantly, just listen to people and see where they're at and make them feel good. I just feel like I just try to get around, and I've got a really good relationship with everyone at the club, and that's like players and staff included, and with the kids, I'm just like, just make them feel good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if they're confident they're going to perform, if you tell them that they're shit and they're no good, I guarantee they're not going to roll out there and just dominate.
Yeah.
So it's providing a balance. You give a clip if you have to, but I'm not massively on that. You just leave that to Tay.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like the brawn there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Like, you've won I think a Best Clubman award, and like I don't feel
Back
like
to back.
back to back. Oh, that's key.
I was like, there mustn't be any good people at the club if they're giving it to the same bloke 2 years in a row.
But I also feel like people aren't close enough to it and don't see the ins and outs of the day to day. But like, that's fucking pretty cool
Yeah.
award to win. Like, it's not it's a high pressure environment. Like,
Yeah.
moods and attitudes are swinging all the time based
Yeah.
off results and injuries and everything. So to maintain a level of like good humanism and take care of everyone and be there, it's like a
It
pretty.
took a
impressive
while,
job.
though. Like, I used to ride the emotional roller coaster of footy
Oh, as you would.
all the time.
Yeah.
If you win, you carry on like you've won the flag. And if you lose, you're like, don't come and see me. I'm turning the lights off and don't come in my room. Like, but then as you kind of move on, you understand it's like, well, yep, game's gone.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We'll learn from it and go forward. But
Yeah.
make sure you just keep treating everyone with respect and looking after them. And I feel like I've been able to do that at Collingwood. But, and yeah, it's obviously been recognised
Yeah.
2 times.
Oh, mate,
but
it's
in
awesome.
saying that, like, we've got plenty of good people at the club that could have been easily given to anyone.
Definitely. So, did you based off what we spoke of earlier, coming into the league at the age you did, and obviously you gave some support to other players around you that were probably potentially better than you. Did you ever think you'd get this far in your career? 4 or 5 games off 200 games, which is a major milestone.
Not at all. No, not at all. So I was just like anyone, I guess. You rock up to the club, you want to get fit, you want to fit in, you want to try to get confident, you want to try to get in the team, and you want to try to cement your spot.
Yeah.
In saying that, do you ever really cement it unless you're one of the top guys in the team? Probably not, because
Yeah.
of turnover, and you just got to continually perform at a high level. And I never really thought I was going to get there, but managed to just string together a few games. And I feel like I've always been a good trainer.
Yeah.
Like I just train my ass off when I'm on, and then like I love to enjoy myself when I'm away from the club,
Yeah.
whether it's socially, have a beer, play golf, like get away from the game as much as I can. I'm a little bit older now, so I want to go into coaching post footy. It's something that I'm pretty keen to do, but still feel like I've always trained and set my footy up from that.
That's awesome.
Half-assed trainers are generally ones that don't make it.
So, Swanee talked down his training, and he tell you what, he's probably one of the ones out of the 99% that
Yeah.
get through and
Yeah.
still achieve things. But I agree, you can't get away with it, can you?
You can't. You get found out pretty quick, and given the high standard kids that are coming through at the moment,
Yeah.
they'll pull your pants down and feel like you're not going to perform. So, it's something that I feel like I'm grateful that I've been able to play for so long.
Yeah.
200 games is like I would have laughed at you if you thought you were going to get anywhere near that.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, 1 game was enough for me.
Yeah,
But,
does that make you a life member or whatever? Like it's
So,
a pretty big deal
I
in
don't
regards
know.
to like.
I'm actually not really sure. I'll get MCC from playing 100 at Melbourne.
Oh,
100 on the dot.
that's fantastic. That's important.
So I get that.
That's
and
why.
then
That's when the trade. The
I
trade
think you get
email went
father
in.
son 100 games. So I've got 4 more games before Xander can go to the Pies.
Oh,
So,
how good's that? Oh, wow. How old's Xander?
so he's 15 weeks.
Oh, wow. he's
So
got
we pretty
a
much
few years to
Carly
go.
pretty much had him at exactly when the season finished. So
Oh, that's good
perfect
timing.
timing for us.
Great timing.
Yeah.
It was just funny. We're speaking of kids, but given the amount of kids you've got at the Pies, and obviously now knowing you a little bit more, and particularly how close you guys were in 2018, and
Yeah.
the guys that sort of Pendles and Sidey kind of strike me like you guys don't want to make up the numbers in a sense, right? So
Not at all.
like what sort of like is it little things like mentality? Like how do you guys get yourself to back up to a contender? Is
Yeah,
it
there's
something that'll
a-
take time?
And there's a fair bit of that. Like we've always had a strong mindset on where we feel like we are.
Yeah.
Like last year was terrible on all fronts. Like we had a really terrible year on field and off.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the results speak for themselves. I think we won 6 games or something like that. But yeah, we still believe our core group at the club, regardless of like the young guys coming in, we feel like they can contribute.
Mm.
And if they get a good look, and if they play well enough, they'll play with us in the ones. And then we feel like like I said, our core's still really good.
Yeah.
And
fucking
I feel like
elite.
we've got players in each position that can contribute and play at a higher level.
You've got all Australian midfielders, and you've got 2 of the best backmen in the comp.
And unfortunately, we just couldn't string together a consistent season. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take much to be off to be able to lose a game.
Yeah.
And we were in games for long periods of time, and then just couldn't finish them off. And like I said, if you're not playing at a high enough level for long enough, you just get beaten flat out. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's what happened. And yeah, like losing guys like Darcy Moore's probably our most important player.
He's unbelievable.
And it was like you only got to see what he did in 2020. So then when you take him out for a large chunk of 2021, it's a fair hole.
yeah.
As much as you like one guy up just steps in for the replacement,
Yeah.
it's pretty fucking hard to replace Darcy Moore. So
No, it's true. It's so true. I love watching him play.
yeah,
I've always been interested for you because, and obviously watching you and Darcy Moore, because you guys kind of sort of go 1 and 2 of sort of the spearhead forwards and so forth. Who have you sort of across your career found it personally the hardest to match up against? Like whether it's been just
well, I actually had I had him. It was a game. Was it last year? I played on Sam Reid against Sydney. He kicked 5 on me, and I don't reckon I'd ever had 2 kicked on me, and he kicked 5 and did it so easy.
Oh God!
And after he kicked the 3rd, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, what's going on? I was like, everything that I felt like was confident in my game, I completely questioned. So I'd always stand in front, be assertive. I'd always go and read where the ball is. All I did was just lock the caravan on and just sat in his back pocket and followed him round. And he's way bigger than me. He just pushed me round, took a mark, kicked his 4th. I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? I just sit in his pocket again. Bang, sure enough, kicks his 5th. And I'm like,
oh no.
After the game, the coach was like, what happened? I was like, I don't know. Tell me. He goes, you did absolutely everything the opposite that you'd normally do.
Oh,
so I went from like talking about confidence and like enjoying what you're doing. I couldn't have been in a worse place on that field. I felt like I was isolated on my own. Boys were talking to me flat out. I wasn't responding. Like it's just like
that is awful.
A massive turn of events. And thankfully, like I haven't experienced that too many times. But he absolutely annihilated me, and I hated it. Like, I seriously hated it.
You
So
seem like a bad loser.
yeah.
In short, that's what I grasped from that.
And so yeah, it's like literally reviewed it pretty heavily and then went back. And I haven't had as bad a day as that. But he's certainly one that took me to the cleaners, that's for sure.
Oh, God, mate. All right. Well, we're going to just go into our last question here before we go into the little fanfare segment that we have. But you mentioned coaching. Is that where your head's sort of drifting outside of footy?
Yeah.
That's
So
where
so
you're
myself
gonna
and
go
Pendles have done, we're currently in the midst of level 3. So
wow.
something that I'm pretty keen and, I touched on it before. As you kind of get longer in your career in the AFL system, you almost find that you're naturally trying to help the young kids out anyway. And when I missed pretty much the last 2 seasons, I was doing a fair bit of coaching with the defence anyway. And
yeah,
it was great. Matty Boyd was really good for me last year. Sando gave him a chop out at the end of this year, given that it was a new role for him, and we kind of worked with each other towards the end of the year. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Like, I love the environment.
Yeah, I've heard you on the mic'd up. Like, I reckon you're a bit of a natural with the coaching too, and the boys seem to gravitate to you a little bit as well.
Yeah, so it's it is good. Like I just love the footy environment, and I feel like educating something that I do all right.
Yeah,
I was shit at it at school, so I feel like with footy, something that I'm confident in speaking about, I'm okay with that. So, that's the goal, but it's getting harder for guys to get gigs within the AFL now. Like it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be pretty easy to get a gig, but it's a little bit more difficult, but one that I'll probably pursue for sure.
Oh, awesome, mate. Well, we're looking forward to seeing that, but hopefully that's a long time away considering. But
be nice.
We are going to run into just our final segment here, guys. Lace them up, quick 5-5, a bit of a fanfare segment. Yeah. It actually takes longer to say it than the segment goes, which is quite funny. But it would be remiss of us to not have a few curly ones in here to catch you out. But
sweet.
Straight up questions, instinctive answers. You ready?
Yeah.
Favourite teammate?
Sidey.
Sidey, there we go. Do you have a regular pre-match meal?
Yes.
What?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti bolognese?
Stock standard.
Stock standard. Yeah. All right, fair enough. This one I'm interested in. Worst away ground? Where do you hate playing?
Giants.
Giants, really?
Deck. Yeah,
what about
shit,
Perth?
There's no atmosphere.
West Coast, is that not? You prefer?
No, that's so cool.
Well, you guys actually won there.
But they come out, they blast Wolfmother.
Yeah.
And you can't. We're always out first. You can't help but not be that amped while they're playing that song.
That's awesome.
So it's like, if anything, they get you in a real good state before the bounce.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Favorite frothy?
Carlton Dry.
Carlton Dry. Yeah. I'm up there with you. I like that as well.
Just an easy drink.
All right. Now this will tell you a bit about the man Jeremy Howe. But a bucket list activity you haven't ticked off.
Masters.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I could fire that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it. It'd cost a jag load, but
yeah.
it's something I'd just love to do. Just
there you
go over there and watch it. So,
mate, awesome. Jeremy Howe, pleasure having you on the show, mate.
Much appreciated.
Glad. Thank you for tuning in. Anyone that obviously has been watching Jeremy Howe, as I said, you got to check out some of his hangers. They are unbelievable. And looking forward to seeing you stand on some heads this season, that's for sure.
Same.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Awesome.